Okay, welcome to new member orientation. And we're going to go through some various slides here, and it's kind of divided into three sections: the GTAR and NORES section, and then technical support, and then rules and regulations. You all have probably seen an advertisement that NAR, the National Association, puts out. Irrespective of local dialect and custom, the term realtor has but one pronunciation: realtor. That's two syllables. It's not realtor. And I can tell you the most violated places you'll find that is TV. If you've ever seen Reba, on Reba, they're realtors. So people won't make fun of you to your face, but it is pronounced realtor. Make sure that your business card is correct. The term realtor is all capitals. It's never just a capital R. You can go to the NAR website, and they have 3 or 4 pages of information that you can read about the proper use of the term realtor, and they even have a little anonymous quiz that you can take to make sure that you're using it correctly. But here's some examples on the slide for you. GTAR is the Greater Tulsa Association of Realtors. In this building, we actually have 2 companies, GTAR and NORES. GTAR is the non-profit side of the organization. It's the board side. It was created in 1919, and in 1991 we changed to the Greater Tulsa Association of Realtors, but it did go through a few name changes between 1919 and 91. Different types of GTAR membership: realtor, realtor associate, and firm affiliate. Firm affiliate would be like your inspectors, mortgage companies, that type of person. NORES is the Northeast Oklahoma Real Estate Services. That's the corporation here that provides you your MLS system and your key service. They were created in 1951, merged with GTAR in 1967, and in the year 2000, the name was changed to NORES. You'll hear people pronounce it differently. Some people say NORES. I mean, whatever it is, NORES, Northeast Oklahoma Real Estate Services. All right, different GTAR services that we provide. We do have a board store. Now, if you come out to our building, you can search all around. You will never actually find a store. It is located behind the front desk, and they sell signs, sign writers, brochure boxes, that type thing. So they do have information at the front desk where you can look at everything they have to offer and purchase supplies from them. Standardized forms, we do primarily use the state contracts and other forms. We have a few forms that we created, but for the most part, we utilize state forms. And then a free notary service. Bonnie on the front desk is a notary, so if you have something notarized, you can contact her, make sure she's here, and come out and she can notarize it for you. We also provide continuing education. We have classes at the board location, and then we also occasionally do classes at other locations. We handle professional standards and arbitration and various committee involvement. Some of the GTAR committees are listed here on the screen. Sales Associate Committee. Your Education Committee decides what continuing education classes are going to be offered throughout the year. Community Relations does Backpacks for Kids, which is a program that they do once a year where they put together backpacks with clothing items in them, and kids can come and use those for the school year. RPAC is the Realtor Political Action Committee. RPML is for property managers. If you're involved in leasing, that may be a good committee for you to get involved in. And then RCA is for the commercial realtors. And then lots of other GTAR committees, and I'm not going to list them all out and talk about each one. But in the fall, we do send out forms for you to sign up, to volunteer, to be on committees. So if any of these committees sound interesting to you, keep an eye out around September or October for that information and sign up. Some of them have requirements as far as how long you've been a member and whether or not you're a broker member, but a lot of them are open to any of our members. The NORES committees, you saw on the GTAR side, we had about 20 committees. NORES has 3. The bylaws, rules, and regulations, which oversees all of your MLS rules and regulations. The Keybox committee. The Keybox committee is a good one to be on if you want to tell people you're on a committee, but you never actually have to show up. I think they met once like 10 years ago. And then data system is a great committee to be on if you want to give input as far as the MLS system. Now, it's best if you sign up for the data system committee that you do have computer skills and that you kind of understand the basic functionality of the MLS system. If you struggle with computer skills, it's probably not the best committee for you. As far as accessing various services that we provide, you can do that through your handheld devices. There's access to your super key information. Realist is the tax system. And then if you want to access the MLS data, there's 2 ways to do that. As far as accessing the MLS data, Andrew will talk to you later about what your options are and show you how that app and that website vary. Various communication that we have with you. We have the full disclosure. That's an email sent to all of our users once a week on Friday nights. It generally contains information that is pertaining to the upcoming 1 to 2 weeks. And it's usually a page or 2 pages. It talks about upcoming computer classes, continuing education classes. If we're changing our hours, you'll see that information in there. Email notices, we don't spam you. We'll send email notices for billing, or if you're registered for a class, we'll send a reminder. If you happen to have a rule violation, we'll send you an email, but we don't make a habit of just sending emails just in general about anything going on out here. Broadcast notices, you see those whenever you log in. When you go to log in, before you get to the login screen, it's the blue screen that comes up that has notices, and those change based on what's going on. And we also put posts on Facebook and Twitter so that you can keep up with what's going on out here. Various email addresses and websites. TulsaRealtors.com is our public website. That's where the public can go to search for homes and open houses and find a realtor. It's also where you go to log in to access the MLS system, enroll for classes, anything having to do with the MLS or the association. Email addresses, helpdesk@TulsaRealtors.com goes to several people here in our building, and for them to respond. Education would be if you have questions about any classes that we offer, and then membership would be questions like about joining or any dues questions that you might have. Once you log in, this is what the screen looks like. And to access your MLS system, you would click on the button at the upper left labeled Fusion. NAR, that's the National Association of Realtors. We also call it NAR. And then OAR is the Oklahoma Association of Realtors. And if you need to contact them, we have their web addresses on the screen, as well as the phone number for OAR. OREC is the Oklahoma Real Estate Commission. If you have any legal questions, this is the place you want to call, and or look on their website, and they may have the answer that you're looking for. We offer various computer training classes out here. We do have a computer lab. These classes are free with online registration. Realist is your tax system. And then Fusion, we currently have 3 different classes showing you how to use Fusion. The third one shows you how to enter people into the system, link them to searches, and then the system automatically does the searches for you. The second one covers mapping and CMAs. The first one covers everything else. Apps for Realtors is a class that Andrew can touch on when he talks with you, but it is a class where you bring your handheld device and he assists you with that. We do in-office demos. That would be coming out to your office during sales meeting or at another time and instructing the members on whatever topic it is you're interested in. And then we do lecture and hands-on and video classes as well, such as this one. We do have a board of directors and committee volunteers list on our public website. So we keep that updated. So currently, if you go on there, you'll see this year's volunteers. You can go to tulsarealtors.com and you'll find a list of them under the section labeled Realtor Resources. Your GTAR dues are billed once a year in October. Right now, they're about $500 a year. That is divided out between National Association dues, your state association dues, and local dues. If you have any questions about your dues, how they're divided out, where the money goes, that type thing, just call out here, and Connie or Gloria would be the best ones to talk to. Your NORES fees are billed quarterly. They're due on the 15th. And your NORES fees go towards your key access as well as the MLS system. Those fees vary depending on your type of membership as well as the type of key that you have. If you want a breakdown of the fees and what they're for, again, Gloria or Connie can assist you with that. All right, I'm going to go through and introduce you to all of our staff members so you can put a face with the name. The first one, Mike Cottrell, he's our CEO. He's been here since April of 2005. And then Russ, he is the one that you never want to have to talk to. Okay, he's the accounting person, so if you're talking to him, he generally wants money, which is never a good thing. He's been here since November of '84, which is possibly before some of you were even born. And he has been here the longest out of all of the staff members. Bonnie, if you come out to our building, you'll probably meet her because she sits at the front desk. She's been here since January of 2001. She is the receptionist. She also does some of the accounting work and other various duties around here. Katie Graham is the Director of Marketing. She just started in October of 2013. She's the one that helps handle social events, Facebook and Twitter and Backpack for Kids and various things like that. Gloria, if you come out here to get a key or a key box, you'll meet her. She's been here since May of 2003. And then Connie is our membership coordinator, so you'll speak with her. Typically, if you have questions about membership or dues, and she's actually been here second longest out of all the staff members, and she's been here since 1987. Mandy is the association administrator and the office manager. She's been here since September of 2012. If you volunteer for any committees, you will definitely meet Mandy because she's one of the lucky ones that gets to sit on every single committee and take the minutes and keep track of what's going on in each committee meeting. Danielle Holland does the continuing education. She helps head up what CE classes we're going to offer, and if you come out to a CE class, she'll get you signed in, help you with what your hours are and those types of things. And she's been here since April of 2002. Polly Shope, that's me. I teach most of the computer training classes and new member orientation, as well as oversee the MLS rules and regulations. And I've been here since 1999. And then Michael Sexton, you'll probably never deal with him because he is our web developer. So he's a super nice guy, but you know, he sits in his office and makes sure everything is running. And if you meet him, it might be at the banquet or something like that. And he's been here since September of 2012. And then the help desk, Lori Rigney, Rich McGonigal, and Andrew Bowen. And if you call out to talk to the help desk, you'll reach one of them. Lori's been here since November 2000, Rich since March of 2007, and Andrew since August of 2013. So if you have any questions regarding functionality of any of the systems we offer, or any problems with accessing the system, that type of thing, you can contact them via phone or email. All right, as far as accessing your MLS system, you will go to TulsaRealtors.com and click the login button to log in. I believe I have a screenshot coming up on that. TulsaRealtors.com, like I previously mentioned, is our public website where the public can go and search for houses, realtors, that type of thing, as well as member access. And it looks like this. So if you're a member, you would click in the upper right corner where it says NORES Member Login. IDX stands for Internet Data Exchange. It gives you the ability to display other people's listings on your website. So as you're driving traffic to your website, rather than just displaying your listings, it gives you the ability to display all of the listings. And then the idea is that then you would generate a lead from that. There are two ways that you can have IDX on your website. There's what's called a framed version, which means if I sign up for the framed version and you do and somebody else does, our search looks the same from one website to the other. But again, if a lead is generated from that, then the lead would go to whoever's website that it is. There's a setup fee for that as well as a monthly fee. Or you can have a data feed, which is just the raw data, and that would be sent like to your web developer, and then they could build a search based on that data. And there's a one-time setup fee for that. If you have any questions on that, or you want to sign up for IDX, you can contact Rich on the help desk, and he has a form you can fill out and submit and get you going. Value map. I'm going to show you value map. You get over to the internet here. Value map, and some of you may have already clicked on this before, on our public website, if you've ever clicked estimate your home's value, this is value map. And what this does is this gives the public the ability to go in and type in an address and get an automated value for a property. Similar to Zillow and Trulia and all of those other websites out there. This one tends to be a little more accurate than some of the others because this is based on MLS data as well as tax data. So let me go ahead and put an address in here. And this could be maybe the client's house or a house that they're looking at. And it comes up, and I'm not going to go through all of the features on here, but you'll see over here it tells you beds, baths, year built, that type information. There's the subject property right there on the map. And at the top it gives us an estimated value for that property. I'm going to go ahead and click the tab with the little for sale sign. And you'll see it displays the subject property with the recent sold properties, and gives the public the ability to kind of look at those and analyze that data. The reason why I'm showing this is you do have an option to add this feature to your website if you'd like. There's no charge for it. The registration process you go through in Realist, the tax system, by clicking on Preferences, and then you can sign up for Value Map, and it'll send you the information on how to add it to your website. Okay. All right, if you need technical support, you can always email helpdesk@tulsarealtors.com or call us 918-664-0505. We are open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5:30. However, please keep in mind we run about a quarter of our staff on Friday afternoons. So if you do contact us Friday after 12:30, you may need to wait or the person that you're trying to reach actually may be off on Fridays. Okay, the next thing that we're going to talk about is rules and regulations. And we're not covering all of the rules. If we were, we'd be here all day. We're just covering what people tend to violate the most. A complete copy of the rules and regulations can be found by logging into tulsarealtors.com and clicking on Governing Documents. The rules that I'm getting ready to cover are under NORES Rules and Regulations. Okay, listings must be entered into the system within how many days? The answer, 5 business days. So if you take a listing today, you've got to have it in the MLS system within 5 business days. How do we find out if you don't do that? Typically, your peers will call and tell on you. They saw you putting in the sign across the street from their house, and they're ticked because you got the listing of their neighbor. So every day for the next 5 days, they're going to check the MLS system. Day 6, I'm going to get a phone call. So 5 business days to get those in the system. Okay, so I just mentioned you have 5 days to get your listing in the system, but are you even required to enter your listing into the MLS system? The answer is yes, you are required to enter all of your listings into the MLS system unless you file what's called a Form 9 Office Exclusive. It's also called a certification by seller. And that gives you the option to not enter it in. That would be if the seller does not want their listing in MLS. You'll send that form to us within 5 business days. So if we do get a call that your sign's out there and the listing's not in the MLS system, we can refer to our Form 9 file and verify that that's the reason why it's not in the MLS. There's various reasons why a seller would not want their listing in the MLS system. It really doesn't matter what the reason is. If they don't want it in there, you fill out the form, send it in. Okay, you can take a listing for whatever time period you want. That's a decision between the seller and the broker. However, in our MLS system, one listing cannot remain active beyond a certain time period, and that time period is 6 months. So if you take a year-long listing, that's fine. The expiration date would be 6 months out in the MLS. Once you reach that date, if it's still active, that one would expire. You'd re-enter the new listing. You would get a new MLS number for the remainder of the 6 months. Okay, so how long do you have to make status changes in the MLS system? Let's say your listing goes pending today. How long do you have to make that change? 3 business days. So your listing goes pending today. Within 3 business days, it's got to say pending in the MLS. Now, how do we find out if you don't do that? Well, your peers will call and tell on you, right? Now, one time when I was teaching this class, someone said, "It sounds like you're encouraging us to tell on each other." I said, "No, actually, I'm encouraging you to follow the rules. Then there's nothing to tell." But let me give you an example of when you'll be the one telling on somebody. You find this great listing in the MLS. It says vacant, key box, go show. You go show it. Your buyer loves it. You write up an offer. You call the listing agent, and what do they say? "Oh, gosh, that's been pending for weeks. In fact, we're closing on Friday." So at that point, you're ticked, right? Because they wasted your time and your buyer's time, got you excited over something that you can't even have when all they had to do was mark it pending. So the purpose of an MLS is cooperation and compensation among brokers. A part of the cooperation is actually entering good and accurate data in the MLS system and keeping it up to date. All right, I'm going to cover the definitions of the different statuses in the MLS system just so you are aware of what they are. An active listing means it's currently for sale. It's currently on the market. Now, what you can't do, and this is probably the biggest violators I have on active listings, is you have an active listing in the MLS, but then down in the broker remarks, you come down and say, no showings until, and you give a date in the future. If it can't be shown, it can't be active. Okay? All right, a pending listing means you have a signed, accepted contract. If you have a signed, accepted contract, you're required to mark that listing pending. There is never an option for leaving it active. Now, you may have a signed, accepted contract, but it falls into one of our two definitions for a contingent listing. You can mark a listing contingent under one of two categories. If you have a signed, accepted contract, but it's contingent on the buyer selling their existing home and that buyer's home is for sale. If you have a situation like that, you can mark your listing contingent. But as soon as that buyer gets an offer on their house, your listing has to be marked pending. Now, the advantage of marking your listing contingent rather than pending is it will remain with active properties whenever you do searches. So when people are in searching actives, and if you've been in the system, you've noticed them as well, you'll be scrolling through and occasionally you'll see one that says contingent. Your other option for marking one contingent is if you have a short sale. If you have a short sale, there's a field on your listing that says short sale yes or no. That would be marked yes already. The way a short sale works is a short sale actually means that the bank is willing to take less money for the property than what's owed. So the way it works is the buyer makes an offer, the seller accepts it. According to our definition, that's pending. However, that contract then has to go to the bank to see if the bank will accept it. While you're waiting to hear back from the bank, you can mark your listing contingent. But as soon as you hear back from the bank, even if it's a verbal, your listing has to be marked pending. Those are the only two options for marking a listing contingent. I've never had anyone question, what does closed mean? Pretty much everyone knows that because they got their money, right? You got your money, the title passed hands, you had the closing, you're done with the transaction. Withdrawn. Withdrawn means the listing agreement is in effect, but the property is not being marketed. This would be, an example would be like I gave you a minute ago on the active listing where you come down into the broker remarks and say no showings until, and you put a future date. You will have situations like that. Maybe your seller has company coming in from out of town and they don't want their house shown while the company is visiting, something like that. You would put your listing in a withdrawn status, meaning the agreement's in effect, but the property's not being marketed. Then once the company goes back home, then you can put your listing back as active. So that's one example of why you would withdraw a listing. Anytime you withdraw a listing, you're required to send a copy of the withdrawal here. And that's an NAR mandated rule. It doesn't have to be on a specific form, but we have to have a copy signed by the seller and the broker. A release listing means the listing agreement is no longer in effect. So an example would be I have my house listed with you because I'm being transferred out of state and now I'm not going. So I don't need to move. So we agree to release ourselves from that contract or that listing agreement. Anytime you release a listing, a copy has to be sent here as well. So withdrawals and releases have to be sent here, and we just put those in a file and keep track of them. An expired listing. Expired means that your listing reached its expiration date. In an RMLS system, that could be 6 months or less. Now, expired, this works exactly like a coupon. If today is the expiration date, it's still good today. It doesn't expire until tonight at midnight. And that's all automated in the system. There's nothing that you have to do. Anticipated closing date. This used to be one of the rules that we find on the most, and it's actually gotten a lot better, which is a really good thing. The way the system works is when you make a listing pending, it will stay pending forever if you don't change it. 10 years from now, it'll still say pending if nobody modifies it. So what we do is you go in and when you mark a listing pending, we require you to enter in the anticipated closing date, when the listing is supposed to close, and we monitor those dates. So let's say today is the anticipated closing date and it doesn't close. 7 days from now, the listing agent gets an email telling them they need to update that date to avoid a fine. You're in violation on day 31 when you're 31 days past the anticipated closing date. So if it's your listing, you know it's supposed to close today, but you've got title problems and the closing company's telling you it's going to be 3 or 4 weeks before they get those handled so that you can close. All you need to do is whoever enters listings for you, go in, modify the anticipated closing date to a new date, a date in the future, and then you won't be in violation of that rule. The idea is that we know that you know that that listing's still pending. All right, quoting square footage. This used to be violated a lot more than it is now, and it's gotten a lot better over the last few years. You have 4 square footage fields: house size, home square feet 2, square feet 3. The house size is a range. It's a 250 square foot range that you can select that the home falls within. It is not a required field, but you can complete it if you'd like. Home square feet is a required field. You're required to at least enter 0 for that field. Now, if you put 0 for the square footage, you have to put a source, and the source would be not reporting. If you put a number higher than 0 for your square footage, your source choices are courthouse, records, which is the assessor's office, a building permit that you have in your file, or an appraisal that you have in your file. And that can be a full appraisal or an appraisal measurement. Now, the square feet 2 and square feet 3 fields are if you have multiple sources of square footage, because you may have courthouse records and an appraisal. The board recommendation is that you report all or none. But again, that's going to be at the broker's discretion. So you can put whichever one you want in the first position and then put the other one in the second position. And then again, you do have a third field as well if you do have 3 sources of square footage. You pretty much can't put square footage anywhere else. Now you can refer to our rules. We have about a page or 2 in there of you can do this, but you can't do that. You can do this, but you can't do that. But I really don't get into that during new member orientation. If you have a specific question about a certain scenario, I can certainly answer that for you. All right, photos. You can have up to 25 photos per listing. They need to be of the real estate and what's for sale, and not you and your family and your dog. We've seen it all. Okay. The primary photo has to be the exterior front of the home. The other photos can be of the bedroom and kitchen and backyard and that type thing. Probably the biggest violators of the primary photo rule are lake properties, because they want to put a picture of the back of the house, because the back of the house is always the pretty side, because that's what faces the lake. But the purpose of the primary photo, or the main photo being the exterior front, is when I'm driving down the road to find the house, I should be able to look over and go, there it is. And I can't spot it if it's a picture of the back of the house. Any remarks or media on your listing cannot contain self-promotional information. No names, phone numbers, no web addresses, no showing instructions, none of that. The remarks and media are only supposed to contain information about the property. I used to think this one was a yeah, duh, but I found out that it's not. Your listing is supposed to contain factual information about the property. Factual information. I can tell you this has gotten worse over the last 15 years that I've been here. It has not gotten better. I think because a lot of you write your remarks for the public now because your listings all go out to these different websites. But remember, that's not the purpose of an MLS. The purpose of an MLS is cooperating with other brokers. So your remarks, if you were talking to another broker, would not contain what I call all of that flowery information. They would contain factual information. For example, granite counters, wood floors, new roof last year. We're not going to send you any rule violation notices for all of your flowery stuff, but when you tend to do that, you tend to get yourself towards the area of fair housing violations, which you really need to watch. If you stick with factual information, you'll never have a fair housing violation. What we're looking for on the listings is, like I previously mentioned in your remarks, no contact information or showing instructions or anything like that. If you're offering a bonus, that's fine. It would be entered into the broker remarks, and it has to be worded a certain way. So let's say it's a $500 bonus. It would state $500 bonus to cooperating broker or selling broker. You can never state or imply that the compensation goes to an agent. Compensation is always from one broker to another. In addition, you cannot state that the compensation for the cooperating broker is coming from the seller. The seller pays the listing broker compensation, and then the listing broker chooses what to give to the cooperating broker. So you can't state the seller is offering compensation to the cooperating broker. Okay, can you share your password or key with someone, like your spouse, a team member, your broker, somebody like that? That's a pretty easy one to answer. The answer is no. You don't share your key or password with anybody. It is a $1,000 fine for you and your broker if you do share your key or your password. Remember, the keys are assigned to you. If you have someone that maybe they lost their key or it's not working, they need to figure that out. You know, you can go with them and open the box, or they can contact the listing agent, but you never just hand over your key access to somebody else. That is accessing people's personal homes, and it's a pretty serious violation. As far as sharing passwords, we do have a system in place that tracks where you're coming from and your keystrokes and what operating system you have, and it's looking for password violators. So if you do get an email notification that we believe that your password has been compromised, you want to take it seriously, follow the instructions within the email. If you have any questions, feel free to call out and talk to the help desk about that. Okay, that's it. I appreciate your participation today, and Andrew will discuss with you some handheld device options.
I'm Andrew. I'm on the help desk, and I'm going to talk about some of the MLS apps for mobile devices we have. We have the Tulsa MLS app. It's available on the iTunes Store and on the Android Play Store. It works on both devices, iPads, iPhones, Android phones, Android tablets. And then we also have the Tulsa Realtors.mobile, which is a mobile website that you can use to search the MLS. You just use your web browser for iOS or iPhones. That's going to be Safari. For Android, it's just the default browser or Chrome. Realist also has a mobile app, and Realist is the tax records. With the Tulsa Realtors.mobile, you can search your contacts, open houses, and listings, and you can also view all the properties available on the MLS. You sign in using your Tulsa Realtors username and password, exactly as you would on a desktop. Here's a look at the home screen for the TulsaRealtors.mobi website. And here's what it looks like when you're starting a new search. And here are some search results. And here's a look at the Tulsa MLS app. And again, you would find this by going into the App Store and typing in simply Tulsa MLS. And this app is also available for use for the public. So when you log in, there's a public option and a agent sign in. You would want to do the agent sign in. And again, it is exactly the same username and password that you use on the desktop. And this allows you to perform searches, including some near you, open houses, your listings, your contacts. And that is all.